It is so weird filming at home. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell, I'm not at my apartment, I'm at my parents' place. It's weird. It's weird. It's gonna take some getting used to. I'm sorry. But today I'm going to be talking about my TBR for the month of April, also the Owl's Magical Readathon TBR. They're the same thing. The Owl's Magical Readathon is a readathon hosted by G from Booksloth, and it is a Harry Potter themed readathon. So if you are unaware, the Owls or OWL examinations take place for the Hogwarts student during, I believe, their 5th year of Hogwarts, and essentially during the month of April we take those examinations, and it's a readathon, again hosted by G from Book Roast. I'll link her original announcement video down below if you want to check that out. So essentially for this readathon there's a bunch of different careers, and then for each career that you wish to pursue there is a set of OWL examinations that you have to complete or pass in order to fulfill the requirements for that career. There's a bunch of different ones, a bunch ranging from just a couple books to all the prompts, and so there's a prompt for each career that you have to read that book under that prompt in order to pass. Does that make sense? She explains it a lot better. So again, her video is linked down below. But I am going to be talking about my personal career that I've chosen and the prompts that fit that, as well as the other books I intend to read for this readathon and for the month of April. I'm sure this may come as no surprise to you, but I have chosen for my career the graphic designer. This is what I'm actually majoring in, so it felt right. It felt right. I had to do it, right? So for the graphic designer career, there is 4 owls I need to pass in order to fulfill this career. There are additional things that you can add to it, like little what are they called, like skills or attributes, things like that. However, I am not choosing to add any of those, and I'll explain that after I explain the 4 books that I will be reading for these examinations. It'll all make sense shortly. So like I said, there are 4 OWL examinations that I need to pass in order to fulfill this career as a graphic designer, and those 4 are Ancient Runes, History of Magic, Transfiguration, and Charms. So I'm going to get into those prompts now, and I'll tell you about the books that I'm reading for those, and then we'll talk about the rest. So first up we have Ancient Runes, and for that the prompt is a heart on the cover or in the title, and I have chosen The Bride Test by Helen Huang. I have read Helen Huang's other book, The Kiss Quotient, and I really enjoyed it, and I just posted this in my haul video, so this is there if you want to check that out. I talk a little bit about that there as well. But I just recently purchased this. So this book follows our main character Kai, who has autism. He has never had any like good relationships or any relationships at all, I believe. And his mom does this like buy a bride type thing with a girl from Vietnam named Esme. And Esme comes and meets Kai, and she begins to develop feelings for him, and she has to kind of teach him how to love and how to, you know, portray his feelings and things like that. All the while she's having to keep her personal feelings, like she's wrestling with those because she is falling for Kai as she's trying to teach him how to love and things like that. So that is The Bride Test by Helen Huang. And like I said, that will fulfill the prompt of Ancient Runes for me. I had to grab my sister's copy of this one because I don't personally own this one. So for History of Magic, you have to read a book that features either witches or wizards, and I'm choosing Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. This is a sequel to Carry On, which I read recently. I don't remember when I read it, maybe it was January, but this is the sequel to that. It is pretty short. This is my sister's copy, so I'll either read this or listen to it on an audiobook. It was kind of like, I don't want to say it's a Harry Potter retelling because it does have its own rights, but it's kind of inspired by Harry Potter. They do go to a wizarding school, but then we have Simon and Baz, who are 2 main characters, and this follows the events of the first book. So if you don't know the first book, I'm not going to spoil it for you. They're at this magical school, trouble arises, and they're having to solve it to the best of their abilities, as they also develop a friendship. They're kind of enemies at first, and then they become friends, and yes, I'll let you read it to figure out the rest. Next up we have Transfiguration, and for this one I did not bring the physical book with me. I plan to listen to it on audio, but I'm also not super inspired to read this book, so if you have any other suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. This is the one that may change. But Transfiguration is a book that features some sort of shape-shifting. So for that I've chosen Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. I am interested in this, however, I don't know that it's just like, I don't know that I'm in the mood for it right now. I'm not sure. I may start it and fall in love with it and who knows? But this is one of the few books on my TBR that actually does kind of fulfill that prompt. So I went ahead and put it down. Again, I don't have it here at the house with me because I didn't bring it because I had planned to listen to it on audiobook anyways. So that's kind of the game plan for that right now, but that all may change, so stay tuned. And the final prompt that I need to fulfill for my career is Charms, which is reading a book that has a white cover. And for that I've chosen In Paris with You by Clementine Bovis. I don't know how to pronounce that name. I'll let you look at it and give it a shot. So this book follows our main characters Eugene and Tatiana, and they kind of had, like, imagine Grease if you've seen Grease. So they kind of fall in love one summer, but then they're torn apart, and then they meet in Paris again, and it's kind of battling, will their relationship actually work because they're reunited and all this stuff. So this is kind of, it reminds me a lot of Grease. This book is really short and it's written like really interesting. I don't know if it's written in verse or if it's just written interesting. But Nicola Yoon blurbed this, and I got this on Book Outlet a while ago. I think it was in my Black Friday book haul. But I've been meaning to read it for a while just to figure out if I actually like it or not. And it's pretty short, so I feel like I could get through this pretty easy during a readathon. So that is everything I need to fulfill the career of a graphic designer. However, me being the ambitious person that I am, I always strive for the career that has the most, which is The Alchemist, I believe. You have to read all 12 prompts. And for the newts in August, you have to read 17. So I always strive to do all 12 books because hello, 12 books in a month, that'd be great. But I always give myself a first career, and then like The Alchemist is my backup career in case I do want to read all 12 books. So I do have books picked out for the remainder of the prompts, and I'm going to get into those now. So like I said, all of these classes are optional, but I do intend to read these throughout the month of April. This is just kind of my general April TBR. This is really tentative. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to read all 12, but since we are now on quarantine and shelter in place, I feel like I can give this a shot and do pretty well. Like I said, none of these are 100%, but I also thought I could give you some recommendations if you choose to do this and you don't need to read these 4 prompts. So maybe you could get some recommendations out of this as well. So first up for the classes outside of my career, I have arithmancy, and that is read a book outside of your favorite genre. My favorite genre tends to be like romance, contemporary, fantasy, like those 3 I tend to bounce between pretty often. So I wanted to pick something that didn't in line with those. Sure, contemporary may be my main one, but like fantasy's pretty close behind. I do enjoy fantasy. So I wanted to try something that I read very little of or have never read before. And I've chosen something I've never read before. That is thriller or horror. I've chosen Fun Girls by Riley Sager. Sager. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I'm gonna say Sager because that's what it looks like to me. So this book follows a group of girls. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't read the full synopsis, and I've heard from people who are really into thrillers and horrors that you shouldn't read the full synopsis. I believe this follows a group of girls, and like they're with a big group, and then there's only one left, so they're considered the final girl, and then a group of them are the final girls, so it's like, is there only ever one final girl? Who knows? I've been meaning to read some thrillers for a while. I want to give it a shot, and I've heard really good things about Riley Sager, particularly Lock Every Door. However, I wanted to save that one. I wanted to give this one a shot first and then go into that one because that one's really hyped up for me, so I want to like get a taste of thrillers before I go into that. Does that make sense? Then I have Astronomy, which is read a book when it's dark outside. I actually do not have anything picked out for this. I'm letting this be a complete mood read. I'm gonna go on Scribd with their free 30 days or find an audiobook and pick out whatever I choose to read at that time. So that's not very helpful, I'm sure, but that's what I've chosen to do because I do want to have one thing that I can just kind of pick up on a whim if I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting, I've never heard of that before. I don't want to be locked down to this TBR. Then I have Care of Magical Creatures. The prompt for that is read a book that has a creature with a beak on the cover. For that I've chosen Serpent and Dove by Shelby Malrin. I do own a physical copy of this, however I am planning on to read it on audiobook, so I didn't feel like lugging it all the way to my parents' house. So that's why it's not here, that's why there's a picture right here. But I am intending on reading this and I'm really excited about it. I think it's a fantasy and it's got a little bit of romance. Maybe, I don't know if it's enemies to lovers. I'm excited about it. I've heard semi-good things from some people and then like not great things from other people, but that's everything on my TBR, so who's to say? I'm excited to give it a try. Next up we have another audiobook, and that is Defense Against the Dark Arts, which is the book that is set at sea, and for that I have chosen The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I did try and read this quite some time ago. I have it on Audible still, and I just never finished it. I never, like, it wasn't that it was bad. I just think I stopped listening to it one day and then kind of forgot about it. I think I was on a trip or something. so I never finished it, and I really want to finish it because I've heard good things, and there's other books that have come out by this author now within the same, like, I don't know that they're a series, but like within the same realm with the same characters and things like that. So I really, really, really want to try it. So we're going to try and get back into that. So that is the next audiobook that I'll be listening to. Next up we have Divination, and that actually is use a random number generator and then assign those to your TBR, and then like the generator picks it. So I'm going to go straight on to Goodreads. We're going to use a random number generator. If it's one of these books that I have here, then obviously we'll do it again, and if it's not one of the books I have here, we'll see if I can find it on audiobook. We'll figure it out from there. I also, on my TBR, have books that are later in the series, like I've purchased them and I have them on my TBR because I own them, but obviously if it's like the third book in a series by Riordan, however you pronounce his last name, obviously I'm not gonna read the entire series, so we'll scan again. We're gonna give this a shot. So I have 120 books on my want to read. I have a random number generator here, so the minimum is 1, the max is 120, and I'm gonna generate a number so you know I'm not cheating. 99, of course, it's gonna be something towards the bottom. Okay, let's find number 99. How to Love by Katie Cotugno. Yo, I just bought this. Okay, How to Love by Katie Cotugno. Here it is. If it's not available on Scribd or audio or something, we'll have to figure that out. But at least it's semi-short and it's a contemporary, so I think I should be okay. It's a little weird, but you can see 99 there, and then How to Love by Katie Cotugno. Alright, next up we have Herbology, and that is read a book whose title starts with M. I'm reading Shatter Me by Tahada Mafi. I've been meaning to read this for a while. I'm counting it, okay? I'm counting it. You can come for me in the comments if you want to, but I'm counting this. I've been wanting to read this for a while. I really want to read it in April, and I made it fit into a prompt, so we're counting this. It's a dystopian novel, and that's all I know about it. Next up we have Muggle Studies, and that is read a book that comes from the perspective of a Muggle. So contemporaries tend to be pretty solid in that aspect. I've chosen The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I've been meaning to read some Christina Lauren forever, and this is one that I'm really excited about. It's Enemies to Lovers. There are these two people at a wedding party. I believe one is the maid of honor and then one of them is the best man at the wedding. I could be wrong, but they don't like each other. And then everybody in this wedding party gets sick. And so they have this honeymoon that the bride and groom can no longer go on. So there's a free honeymoon up for grabs. So she has to go on this honeymoon with this guy she can't stand. And I think they go to Maui? Yeah, they go to Maui. So, you know, that'll be interesting. Enemies to Lovers, I'm here for it. Christina Lauren, I'm here for it. What else can I say? And then the final prompt is Potions, which is a book that's under 150 pages. Here's the thing, I don't have one of those. I can't find one. I couldn't find one on my personal TBR at my apartment that like really spoke to me in any way. So I'm gonna try and find one on like Scribd or something and then check Goodreads to see the page count on it, but that's gonna be another mood read because I have to think on that one for a while. And then finally I have two series that I want to read a little bit of, and that is Geekerella and The Princess and the Fangirl. I've been meaning to read these for a while. These are by Ashley Poston, and essentially it's like Cinderella retelling but at like a convention or something like that, and she's like a little bit nerdy, and that's, yeah, that's the vibe. So I've been wanting to read these for a while, and honestly I thought this was under 150 pages, but they're just really thin pages, I guess, because there's 300 pages, so that's interesting. But this is something that I'm thinking about maybe reading this month, so this could be one of my mood reads. Also a potential for a mood read is Throne of Glass. I've been meaning to read this forever. Rihanna and I, from the page count, we're gonna read this I think back in January, but neither of us ever got to it because school was crazy and we were busy and life just, it do be like that. So this is something that we've been meaning to read for a while. I still have the audiobook of this and I'm hoping to get to it, and then just in case I have the sequel, which is Crown of Midnight here, in case I get to loving this and I'm like, I need to read the next one. Although with all these other books I have, I don't know why I brought some of these. So that is all the possibilities for April. I know there's a lot of possibilities, but that's pretty much everything that I think I'm gonna read, and I know there's a lot up in the air still, but that is my Owl's Magical Readathon TBR. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes month-long readathons, you just gotta have a little bit of flexibility, you know? If you are participating in the Owl's Readathon, please let me know your career down below. I'd love to know, and if we have any reads in common. I'm so excited. I love this readathon. It's one of my favorites of the year. So that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Happy reading!